What is up, guys? It is Morgan. We are back in Rugby 20 with another review of this week's Super Rugby matches going on. Today's match that I've just finished watching was the Blues versus the Cheifs, and it was a very different sort of game, so I'm looking forward to talking about this one. What we do in these sorts of videos is I play a game in the background of some teams that sort of resemble the teams that played in real life, because the teams aren't licensed in this game, which is a shame. But we play a game while it's going on, and I talk through some of the things that happened in the game and some of my thoughts. So let's get into this. Today was the Blues and the Cheifs, so we'll be doing Blues and Dragons because they are similar kits. I'm going to play as the Blues because I love a bit of Cardiff Blues. Here we are then, guys, in we go. So, first point of the game was that it was raining during this one, which is the first one we've had so far where there's been rain, so we're going to play in the rain today. We're playing at night because we are. No reason that they have not played at night in real life. So, first point of note for this game was the rain. The rain had a big impact on this game, especially in terms of just handling and penalties given away. This is probably the most over the last 2 weeks I've seen handling errors. There was an awful lot of scrums going on in this game, along with the penalties. Penalties improved from last week to this week. In both games last week there was, I think there was 30 penalties in both games. In this game today, it ended on 23. So, you know, there's a definite improvement being shown. People are beginning to understand the new rules a little bit more. There were still quite a lot of penalties, but the penalties were for very different things, whereas last week we saw an awful lot of penalties for people being offside and people coming in at the side of the ruck. There was definitely a lot more sort of points or penalties against people for going off their feet in the ruck, which I think had something to do with the rain. I don't think that was so much that everyone just, for whatever reason, was diving in off the feet. I think there was a certain level of the ground being wet and not being able to stay on their feet. I think it affected a lot of players quite badly. The Chiefs started out strong, especially for the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes was nearly entirely Chiefs-based. We've picked up an injury already, 11 minutes in. They went on pretty well. They came out for this game. They were ready for a big game. They got a penalty in the 7th minute, so early on in the game. And they decided they were about on the 22. They weren't too far beyond the 22. Very doable kick, especially when you've got Damian Mckenzie there. But they went for the corner, which I thought was a good call. They've obviously come out to play the game. They've come to show the hand a little bit, play to win. Whoa, Josh Adams nearly out. Let's get in the corner here, first try. They definitely wanted to show they could do something. However, they kicked to the corner, got the line out in. However, in the maul, didn't work out for them. They did a little set move from the maul, and it just went a little bit wrong. Needed a bit of practicing going on there. In the 11th minute, though, they did get a penalty shortly after that for dragging down the maul. That they then failed to do the manoeuvre off of. So Mckenzie kicked that. And then in the 13th minute, it was 2 minutes later, they just went back up the field, and there was a kick going back across from Barrett. I think it was Barrett that did the kick. So they had they had a penalty themselves, and they also went for the corner. They decided, nope, we're going to play this game with you. Barrett went for corner with an exceptional little banana kick that got right in, and that kick to the corner actually led to the first try of the game. 14 minutes was the first try, came from Blues number 8. It was Hoskins Satutu. Satutu ended up actually getting man of the match for this game. Hard to argue. He had a really good game. There were a couple of other honourable mentions, which I'll go into a bit later on, about who I thought did really well. It was a bit of a pick and go try. He's a young man. I was hearing a little bit about his dad playing and having a few worries about what he was going to be able to do at club level, but he seems to be working very well. It'd be nice to see him in an international team soon. He's got a real presence in the game. He's got a lot of strategies. He did talk at the end of the game how he did play a bit of time in the backs. So he also has a bit of kicking ability, some very good handling ability, and he's very good with handing ball as well. So I was impressed overall with him. So that was the first try, and then Otero Black with the conversion, who had a brilliant game last week for the Blues and has just played very well for this game. This game really came down to kicking. There was a lot of kicking going on, and that's sort of the title of this video. The Battle of the Boots was absolutely involved here. So there was 3 main kickers. It was Mckenzie, Barrett, and Otero Black. And it was an interesting first half. I think the rain, both teams knew that the rain was going to affect handling and the way they were going to be able to play ball in hand. So they definitely went for more of a that was a weird pickup from Josh Adams. They definitely went for more of a kicking approach, trying to make the other team get some knock-ons and stuff. But some of the kicking was very, very impressive. Game management from both Barrett and Mckenzie especially. Oh, it's a poor try. Not paying attention. Yeah, Mckenzie and Barrett especially had some brilliant kicking. Finding space, doing kicks over the top, long kicking. Barrett really, really impressed me. He's done well since moving to the Blues. Seeing him play at fullback was a little bit unusual, not what I was expecting, which he did in the last weeks. But there's a nice little cohesion between Otero Black and Barrett. Otero Black doing the fly half roll, middle game management, sorting out the pass from the ruck. He's doing all the kicks for the posts. Barrett, obviously, we all know, has a good boot on him. He's got an accurate kick, so he's kicking for the corners and he's doing all of that. And then when Otero Black goes off somewhere through the match, he's able to then move to fly half. I think it's a very good system. Spoiler alert, guys, Blues did win this match, even though it was close. But I think having Barrett and another fly half in the team is definitely being an impact as to why they've won both games so far. Been very, very impressed with Barrett. I think, in my opinion, Beauden Barrett probably would have been man of the match just for the game management. He really put Blues all over the field where he wanted them, and it was very hard for people to counter against him. But from a goal kicking perspective as well, there was some very accurate kicking. Mckenzie, throughout the game, he kicked 4 out of his 5 kicks, and the one that he did miss was a ridiculous kick that he had in the 26th minute, where he actually kicked the ball from in his own half and only really missed by 1, maybe 2 metres. I mean, he was pretty close. I mean, that's a hell of a kick. But he did a really good job kicking wise. I was very surprised they didn't let Mckenzie try and show off a little bit more with the kicking. They know he's a sound kicker. I saw it last week, and we've seen him play for New Zealand. He's a good kicker in himself. There was actually, I think in total, there was 3 penalties where the Cheifs decided, rather than going for the posts in kickable positions, they went for the corner, which I thought was an interesting call. They obviously wanted to try and get some tries, lay down a bit of foundation. Obviously they lost last week. I don't know whether Gatlin has said to them, we need to lay down a bit of a marker. You need to turn up a bit. We need to be getting tries. But that to me was sort of, if it works, if you go to corner and it works, and you convert that into a try and a conversion, it's absolutely worth the effort to do it. However, there was at least 2 that I knew of where the ball went to corner, and the ball basically got lost just from the line out. There was one where the ball went too far from the line out and got collected by the Blues. Again, that was why the Blues number 8, Satutu, managed to pick that up and turn that ball over. And then the other one went into the maul, and it was a failed set play from the maul. So maybe some work needs to be, maybe put egos aside a little bit and instead, think we just need the points. It's not worth going for the tries consistently. We need to do, points over anything else. What else have we got going on? On the subject of kicking, Otero Black, which was a shame for him. He missed his first kick of the 2 games, which was a shame. He kicked 100% last week. He had a brilliant game. I can't remember how many kicks he had overall. I think it was like 9 kicks, I think, given penalties and conversions he had. He missed the first one today, which was 30th minute penalty, where he basically just went a little bit wide. It wasn't a terrible kick. He did make up for it later. Blues had their first sort of attacking opportunity of the game, really, in like the 30th minute. Long time to not have a proper attack going. Until then, they were just working on a lot of territorial kicks and just using penalties basically to move their way up the field. It was a lot of scrappy passing. Again, the ball being wet and it just bouncing everywhere. It was throwing a lot of people off. They did get close, but there was a fantastic try-saving tackle at the end. But and then made the ball go forwards from a pass. But then Otero Black managed to make up for his misconversion of the penalty. About 6 minutes later, they got another penalty for an offside offence. So that offside is still being a bit of an issue in this game. You know, the new rules, people are still trying to get to grips with staying on side a little bit more with their new sort of, you have to be definitely a step behind the line. Just before half time, we had another yellow card for this tournament. We've had a couple so far, which was again on the Blues. The Blues definitely had a problem with discipline in the first half that the Chiefs just couldn't take advantage of with penalty kicks. But the yellow card went against Dalton Pipali, who, if you remember in the game last week, he came on at he was a sub flanker. He came on at 20 last week, and I actually said in the last video, I'm hoping to see him have a start because he got. Did he get man of the match in that game? I can't remember. But he had a fantastic game last week. He got to see a start of him this game. He just found himself on the wrong side of the ref. Blues conceded about 5 penalties within their 22. Ref gave them a warning and said, no more. Unfortunately for Papali, it just happened to be him that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So he got yellow carded in this one just before half time. But the Blues' defence was very, very impressive. They didn't concede anything as a whole. At the end of that first half, they had to play for about 2 minutes without him. In the second half, they conceded a penalty. They were down to 14 men. They were struggling a little bit. They conceded a penalty within the first minute. It was actually for a high tackle. It was a bit of a scrambled rush defence, which was... It could have arguably been another yellow card, actually. It was a tackle on... I think it was the winger for the Chiefs. And a centre for the Blues came across and... in the tackle, basically, with an almost a closed fist, actually hit the chin of the Chiefs player, and he was down just for a couple of minutes. I think it took the wind out of his sails a little bit, which in the modern game, a closed hand hitting someone in a deliberate high tackle. There's an arguable red card there. Nothing really came of that. That was a penalty. Mckenzie, of course, was going to kick that over. He had a good kicking game all day. Again, put his hand up for man of the match. It was a bit of a shame for the Chiefs, really. He seemed to be the only person that I could really name from the game today that I saw from the Chiefs that warranted maybe a man of a match award. He was a standout player for them. No one else doing an enormous amount to put their hand up for it. But the game as a whole was very, very close. It was a point difference all the way through the game, I think, until about the 60th minute or the 65th minute. So the whole game was based on about a point. It was basically like watching two people arm wrestle. They were just completely even. Any penalty conceded 2 minutes later, they conceded one themselves. 3 points were going all over the place. In the second half, the rain did stop, so there was a little bit more ball-in-hand gameplay rather than just kicking. Mark Talia was specifically quite impressive. He's the right wing for the Blues. I haven't seen a lot of him. He got to do a little bit last game, and he obviously showed he's got a bit of talent. But he seems to be one of these players that needs a bit of room to work with. And if you can get him the room, he definitely shows off with a bit of skill. He had some fantastic ball carrying in hand. Otero Black, handling again, brilliant. Just little outside passes, things that other players weren't ready for. Very flat passes, missed passes. He was doing very well at just controlling the game, that attack forward. The Blues did get another penalty. We've got this weird glitch here where we're not able to see what penalty we're choosing. Let's go for the the touch. What was I saying? The Blues got a penalty in the 53rd minute. Which was for the Chiefs in at the side, which was probably the only real one I saw today of a player coming in at the side in a ruck. They've obviously had a lot of discipline on that. Having watched Wales for a number of years, I know Warren Gatland will have really clamped down on the Chiefs for how many times they were in at the side in the last game. They conceded 5, 6, 7 penalties. There's another massive tackle. Got a second injury of the game. But yeah, Warren Gatland will have clamped down on that a little bit. He won't have been too impressed with his team's performance. Let's put on some subs here. Who we got? Oh my goodness, we've got so many people to they need putting on. I have not been paying attention to. How's all these players got so little stamina left? Have I got any? Oh my goodness, have I got any locks? We got one, but then he's also. Oh no, there we go. James down. We'll get a different fly half on. Who else have we got? You're on. Fullback winger, not really necessary. Right, we'll put a flanker lock on there, and screw it. We'll put oh, we do have a scrum half on. Yeah, we'll have. We'll chuck a winger at number 7. Why not? Let's make it interesting. We'll put a new scrum half on. Right, that's basically all our subs in. Where was I up to, guys? Sorry, I'm rambled off on a whole different tangent there. But again, just evidence, what I was saying earlier on. 53rd minute, Blues got a penalty. 55 minutes, Chiefs got a penalty back. The game was just one play to another play. They were absolutely just the opposition of each other. Anything one team did, the other one had to do. There was an awful lot of handling issues that came in the second half. I think the ball was still wet. I've just realised I've put my winger on and left my injured player on. That was not a good tactic. This is why I'm not a coach in real life. Let's go for post. Or for the corner. Sorry, I said post. Oh, it's all going wrong. Let's kick in that little post. We'll get in 5 meters there. Yeah, a lot of handling errors. So a lot of knock-ons, which led to a lot of scrums. And I want to talk about scrums. In this tournament so far, I have been really, really impressed with the scrummaging level. There have been very, very few resets. Refs have been doing really well at if there is a failed scrum, they instead seem to be giving penalties for finding out who the issue was rather than resetting the scrum, which I'm a big fan of. It's one of the worst parts of rugby currently in the Northern Hemisphere is definitely the amount of reset scrums we have. It does get a little annoying to watch. What should we do here? We'll go to the back, which no one was expecting. Ha ha! Now, hello, right. But the Blues played very, very well, scrummaging wise. There was 2 scrums in particular where they actually won the scrum against the head. There was some huge power in the Blues scrummaging team. Again, probably another reason why the number 8 got the man of the match award for this game, just for using that scrum correctly and playing well. Very, very impressed with that. I think there's a number of things that the Chiefs want to work on. I don't think Gatland will have been happy at all with the scrummaging that happened in this game. They lost an awful lot of. Even when they won the ball, it was a bit scrappy for them to even have the ball back. Final try. Oh, forward pass there. Final try of the game came from Mark Talia, who again put his hand up, for having another good game. It was a bit of a team try. Caleb Clark making the original run into the Blues left wing. He beat 3 defenders, got tackled to ground, got straight back to his feet, picked up the ball, carried on running, passed the ball away. My controller's not responding to me in the scrum. That's useful. It was superb play. Otero Black threw a very flat pass, which actually got through for the try, and a superb finish. He had a lot of work to do. He was still a good 8-10 metres out. When he had to try and make it to the try line. He got tackled by the winger, but he did make it across. By then, Otero Black had gone off by then, actually, I was sorry, because Barrett was the one who then took the conversion for that one. Let's go for a cheeky drop goal at the end here. See if the injured player can get a drop goal. No, not by a long shot. But that was the final try of the game. He did very well. The Chiefs did try and make a big counter-attack. They really pushed hard in the 75th minute. They went, really went for it, had to try and make it back. One thing I have missed out, in the 64th minute, Barrett moved to the number 10 position, like I was just saying, and he actually scored a drop goal. So the game was always within 1 point for at least 60 minutes of the game, and then from 60 minutes onwards it was always within about 7. Bowden Barrett again. Reason I would have chosen him for man of the match in this game. Just game management there. They were within 7, rather than risking the chance for them to get a big interception, run the length of the pitch sort of deal. He went for the drop goal when they already had the penalty advantage, so they knew they were going to go for 3 anyway. Good game management. The man of the match award, like I was saying, did go to Satutu, who had a fantastic game, definitely stood out for me. A couple of other names that I think deserve some honourable mentions. Oh, let's see if we can break through the line there. I think it was Sam Knock was the scrum half for Blues. He had a good game. There was a couple of very, very good box kicks from him. Very impressed with the ability level of him. He's showing off a bit. Damian Mckenzie, again, the only person on this list from the Cheifs. Didn't see a lot of attacking options or even brilliant defensive work from anyone other than Mckenzie. Bowden Barrett, who I think I would have picked for man of the match. He had a very, very good game-orientated mindset for this one. And then another one finally was Patrick Tuipulotu, I think it's pronounced, who's the Blues number 4. He was everywhere in this game. He had about 2 turnovers at lineouts. He got 3 jackal turnovers. And won 2 penalties. He even had a kick at one point. He kicked the ball through. Thought he had a really good game. Definitely think he deserves a bit of an honourable mention there. A couple of things to be looked at on the game as a whole. There were still a couple of areas that things need to be looked at. Penalties conceded in this game were down to 23 as opposed to 30 in last week's games. 14 conceded by Blues. One led to a yellow card. And 9 conceded by the Cheifs. So, again, they probably won't be happy to have lost that game, given that they had 5 penalties more. There's 15 points in there if you kick for posts and get all of them. So, definitely needs to be looked at. Turnovers conceded. The Blues had 8 turnovers conceded, whereas the Cheifs had 15, which is a very, very big number for professional rugby. I don't think the coaching staff will be super happy looking at how many turnovers they conceded. Missed tackles, again, could be down to the weather. 13 to the Blues, 18 to the Cheifs. Much harder to tackle people in the rain, as we all know. If anyone's played rugby themselves, it is much harder to hold on to them. And then handling errors, again, I put down to the rain. 8 handling errors for the Blues and 6 for the Cheifs. Awful lot of knock-ons, but it did allow us to see some very, very good scrummaging play. Tomorrow we've got, I think it's the Hurricanes versus the Crusaders. Certainly looking forward to that. Haven't seen anything from the Crusaders so far. They haven't played a game. It'll be their first game tomorrow. And obviously it doesn't really matter who wins that game. The Blues are currently still going to be top of the tournament after this game because they've won 2 from 2. So definitely looking forward to seeing that game tomorrow, guys. I will be doing a review on that one as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel to keep up to date with all our new videos going out. If you're enjoying these review videos and a bit of gameplay in the background, make sure you drop the channel a like, as it really does help us out and lets us know that you enjoy this sort of content. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye bye.